to Season 2's third episode on Tell My Story. In this podcast, we will highlight and discuss the unique experiences of our guest speakers throughout these unprecedented circumstances during the COVID-19 pandemic. I'm your host, Helena Zhu, and today we are grateful to have Markham Ward 8 Councillor Isa Lee. Thank you, Ms. Lee, for joining us here today to tell your story. For those who are not familiar with who ward councillors are, they are representatives of their respective area in their city's youth council. They represent the voice of youth in the area. In this situation, Ms. Lee is a councillor who fights to bring change for the youth of Markham in Ward 8. Before heading into the questions, I would like to thank Ms. Lee and everyone else who's in charge of being there to support the communities. So our first question is, were you always interested in politics growing up, and how did you discover your path for politics?
Yes, I personally studied political science and history, double major in University of Toronto. And throughout my engagement in volunteering and Chinese debate back in my high school days, I truly believe that community building and engagement is the foundation of bringing positive community change. So to me, community service actually means giving back, and this is our civic responsibility. Having lived in the area for more than 15 years, I came across many issues within my neighborhood and understand the needs of local residents quite a bit. With my previous work experience in journalism and media for a decade, as well as being on executive leadership role in a nonprofit organization, I thought we could actually do more other than listening, but bringing the public's voice to the council and to bring residents with different backgrounds together to build a better community. This involvement actually has shaped me as a person and formulates my vision for the future development for the city of Markham.
Wow, how fascinating. And what were your interests growing up compared to now?
Well, in comparison, basically, I think my interests were probably the same since like my childhood. I participated in debate, as mentioned, and public speaking contests since elementary and secondary school. I am actually very passionate in both Chinese and Western cultures. I practice piano and guzheng, a Chinese musical instrument, and also Chinese opera. I touch a little bit as my hobbies. I taught Chinese school for 7 years before it in Canada. And I like to volunteer. I used to be a volunteering, a president for a volunteering association at U of T. And volunteering has actually been the major part of my social life. And that hasn't really changed even till now. I love to help people, and I really liked when we see they're actually happy or being helped. This is what the core value of volunteering. So I always wanted to work at a nonprofit agency. Yes, by school years, I've been longing for that. I also love to interact with people on my career path. Actually, that has reflected on my career path. As a news reporter and anchor with the Chinese television, I got to know a lot of people and get in touch with a lot of issues and topics within the society. So, and I also love to travel, and I got a chance to go on mission trips to native communities. And I eventually had brought One Chinese Television to a First Nation community in Quebec to film a special program that brings awareness of First Nation cultures and social issues to the local Chinese audience. So basically, I love to bridge all kinds of cultures, and this is actually the core values again in Canada as we're living in multiculturalism. So as to answer your question, basically my hobbies are just the same as when I was young.
Thank you, and I definitely agree Canada is a very diverse country. And what would you say helped you achieve the position that you have today? I gotta be very honest. I was very, very fortunate to have the support of my family and friends. Well, without them, I won't be here today, and I won't even have the time and all the sacrifice to bring me up here today. So one thing I gotta really thank my parents, my husband. They all inspired me and taught me to be how to be a more helpful, friendly, and more
a community-oriented person. So I learned a lot from them since day one. And with the support, I actually will be I'm more free up for a lot of different community events, volunteer events, and like now having being a counselor, it's not an easy job. That actually it's a 24/7 job, really requires a lot of time and passion. And so I really thank them for the support, and especially my parents. They were actually able to help me take care of my kids. So yeah, that's one thing. And the other thing is what shaped me and helped me achieve the position I have today. I would say it's passion and persistence. I still remember, this is actually, even though this is my first term got elected, I ran actually twice my campaign. Back in 2014, when I first ran, I quit my current job back then, the job, and ran for a election. And the first time, I was, how should I say that? It was never an easy job. I was actually facing a component who was the incumbent in the area for over 30 years, and I really wouldn't think that I would be able to win the election because of that incumbent. At the end, I lost by 136 votes in the first election, which I consider it's a really good result. It's a good outcome. So since then, I tried to educate myself and apply or engaging more in the community, and I just applied to become one of the committee advisory committee members with the city of Markham, just to get to know more about what's happening in Markham, what specific issues that we are facing. So this is one thing, and with all these equipment, I would say, and 4 years later, 2018, of course, I did try again. And this time, with the incumbent was kind of retiring. So I was able to get a seat because I was actually I got the second highest vote last time. So I got the name recognition and I got to know more residents, and I got a wider support from residents. That's why I was able to get in and I won the election. So I would say passion, first thing, and persistence, the second thing. Just don't give up. If you have the passion for that, just go for it. And yeah, so this is probably I would think it's what bring me achieve the position I have today.
Thank you for those inspiring quotes, Isa. And what would you say have been some of the most rewarding moments throughout your job?
I think most number one thing, of course, is the appreciation from residents. I'm actually extremely happy when I know that I was able to solve the problems and that I was able to help in the community and seeing people got the assistance they needed. So one time, I was really happy, and because last year during COVID, we weren't able to get in touch with people physically that easy, right? So I was able to host a community PPE giveaway event, a drive-through contactless one, with the community support. So I was able to give out 1,500 care packages, PPE packages, to 1,500 families within my ward. So at that time, I was really touched by one resident, a senior resident. He came at the drive-through the day, and after he got the package from my hand, he actually, in return, he wrote me a card, with his handwriting, and hand delivered to me, and saying Chinese, "Thank you so much, 多謝,多謝," like that. When I opened the card, I was almost crying. It's like even it's just a little gesture from me to the seniors or to the audience. They are like, they were really thankful because in the letter they mentioned that as seniors they were very reluctant to get out, and they were so panicked during the pandemic, and it's because of the PPE giveaway last year, and well, it was still the early stage of COVID, so they were actually able to get the PPEs they need. Were actually there's a huge shortage of masks and sanitizers and PPEs like that. So for seniors, they actually it was really it meant a lot to them. So after I received the card, I was really touched, and I knew what I did was right. So yeah, this is one of the most touching moments, I would say.
Thank you for making such an impact, and that does bring me to some more current events, and such as how has the pandemic challenged your role as a Markham councillor, and if so, in what way?
Well, I think, as mentioned, the lack of interaction with neighbors definitely is the number one challenge. In the past, we were able to host a number of different like community events, like physical events, where there may be like a barbecue, a community gathering, music, concerts, movie nights, yeah, you name it. But during COVID, obviously, we weren't able to have anything like this. To be held. And it's kind of hard for me to think of a way to get in touch with my residents, even though when I went door to door or just having site visits, knock on the doors and just say hi. People were, even though they knew who you are, but they're just very reluctant even to open the doors to get in touch, like having physical contact with you. So yeah, that's the number one thing. That's the main challenge for me as a ward councillor.
Thank you. And since being a ward councillor is, as you said, a very difficult job, do you think that there are misconceptions that people have regarding your work and job as a councillor? And if so, what are they?
Yes, of course. Well, people would always think that a councillor, it's so powerful. They have all the authority and power on everything in terms of like from development to like bylaws or just anything within the city. So I was always trying to like clarify and let people know that I'm just one vote in the council. I'm just one out of 13. So actually, it's like a collective agreement on all kinds of issues and topics on council agenda. So that's this one of the biggest misconceptions. The other thing is residents tend to mix up our roles with different levels of government officials. I got people coming up to me and asking for assistance on like applying for their refugee application or immigrant like status, something like that. But this is actually the federal scope, which is out of my boundary. And also there are actually a lot of neighbor disputes happening in the area. I got lots of calls from them in terms of like maybe they got issues between the fence on the fence or driveway, extended driveway, parking, all kinds of different issues about neighbors, like what maybe happening with their next door neighbors. A lot of cases like this. It's like more like an legal issue, I would say. It's a lot of times the city cannot involve in this. So what I would always suggest them to, just ask for your legal advice. If you cannot do anything, the city and actually even the police would not be able to help on some of the issues. So this is another thing. And the third thing is about school issues. I just got recent concern or the feedback from residents with regards to the school, like the current situation about online learning. And I was just trying to tell them it's better to contact your principal, your local school trustee, or actually contact the school board for these types of feedback or like a conversation. I would be able. I would love to forward the concerns to them, but it's definitely out of my scope to handle. So these are some of the misconceptions.
Yep. Thank you, Isa, for clarifying those. And what has been your main concern about this pandemic and how it has affected the community?
Main concern, number one, lack of PPEs. Well, back then, and it was when the beginning, when the COVID started. And second, it still happens now. The business resiliency. During COVID, I've seen a lot of businesses, especially in my ward, being closed down. Because of with all kinds of reasons. Either they were not able to hire people back, or they're actually just go bankrupt. They just can't run it anymore. So it's still the number one thing, number one concern. And second concern, of course, is there are still some people who are not taking this virus seriously. I still see there's a truck going along around the neighborhood, asking people not to get vaccinated. This is another very serious thing that that concerns me a lot. With all of us, actually the city has been hardly promoting on vaccination and full vaccination. This is the way for us to to just stop spreading the virus, but there's still a lot of people who still don't believe it. This is worrisome and this is sad.
Yep, that is definitely quite a concern. And what do you hope to achieve as a Markham councillor in the future? So some possible goals and how you plan on meeting them.
Hope to achieve. I think I would say it's to continue keeping residents informed and what's happening within the city. I would love to continue engaging more residents in community issues. That's for sure. And also educating residents more on different issues, such as, like I mentioned, bylaws, parking issues, where you should park, where you shouldn't park, driveways, extended driveways, and also how to keep our neighborhood beautiful. This is, another major topic that I would like to talk about, or actually share with neighbors. And in order to achieve this, I would say I would continue to work on our social media channels, other than traditional email or Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And I would also develop and maybe social chat groups, other than WhatsApp. Maybe WeChat, because I understand that more and more people are using WeChat, especially residents within my ward who are actually from mainland China, would have Chinese backgrounds. So I would say I would strengthen my communication strategies, and also I would look for a chance to host a community meeting and event, other than I would say community events. Because during COVID, for the past year and a half, there is none. There was none entertainment, none interaction, and so this is a very good chance to resume all these kind of activities and keep people engaged, stay active and informed. And for me personally, I would resume my home visits, site visits, or just knock on doors, check on residents if they're okay. That's what I used to do before COVID. So I would still keep on doing that.
Yep, I totally agree. I'm definitely looking forward to going back into those in-person and interactive events. And finally, our last question, how would one get involved with politics if they are interested?
If anyone who are interested in getting involved with politics, I think number one thing is, as I mentioned, go apply for any citizen advisory committees within the city, in any city. And also be a volunteer with the city or other social service groups to get to understand more about things happening in the community. These are the two most effective and good ways to help yourself be involved in the community.
Okay, and thank you so much, Isalie, for being here with us today and sharing your story. This is where the episode needs to end, sadly, but we know your hard work will keep on progressing. Thank you to all the listeners for tuning in to tell my story, and don't forget to come back next time so you can hear from my next guest speaker and their experiences.